Hey now, Friday morning.
Hey,
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Friday. So, I put up the poster from Friday the movie. Have you heard the major discussion online about Had a Good Day?
what about it?
So, they're trying to define what day Ice Cube had that was good.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're, okay, so UMTV Rap starts at this point. Okay, he mentions the weather. They define the weather. They look at the basketball game brought up,
Right.
and
That's a bit weird. As far
they
as
have a day.
okay.
They have a specific day. It's later than I think it would have been based on dates. But anyways,
Okay.
the funny thing is, Cube immediately like trashed the whole concept. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, it wasn't one day,
It was a
guys.
song. Yeah.
It was. I was writing a song and I pulled from a bunch of
Yeah.
days.
Pretty much.
Oh, and that maybe that's the
Sounds about
problem.
right.
You try to define the day as good. Like, I had a good day. Didn't have to use my AK. You know that it's the important things. You know, you're keeping track of.
Yeah. I think it's good to keep track of when the day is going good. I try to forget about it while the day is happening though.
Right. Try to be present in the day. Man.
I only think about it at night when
I like the idea though that everybody put in all that time on the math, and then Cube was like, "No."
I'm.
Like,
Yep.
I'm telling you, it is funny how much time and effort they put into trying to figure out what day Cube was having a good day.
It's
and
pretty funny.
so, relative to Cube, only tangentially, have you heard who's playing the Super Bowl this year? They released it yesterday.
I think the weekend is.
No,
I don't know.
that would never happen again.
Really? Oh,
No, he was so obviously lost in those mirrors that I don't think anybody. Yeah, I didn't musically. I wasn't that moved by the weekend,
I
and
haven't
like
seen it.
I've discovered artists like I mean I've said that before that Prince and Michael Jackson's kid,
Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars. That was that
Okay.
I really had got appreciation for Bruno Mars when he did the halftime show. So okay, Eminem,
Mm-hmm.
Snoop Dogg,
Mm-hmm.
Mary J. Blige,
That should be interesting.
Dr. Dre,
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
right? I actually I'm a little interested. They do like a great commercial getting the call and it shows everybody getting the call.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody tried to claim Cube was on the list as I was listening to the radio this morning. I'm like, I don't think he is. I almost
It would kind of make sense, I
it
think.
what I get what you're saying, but I watched the thing.
Right? I get you.
And I don't remember.
I get you.
And I think it was actually just a white Midwestern morning show thinking Forrest Whitaker was going to be in the halftime show, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it was a straight up, like, whoa, I was like, I think it was just strictly a black fella is going to be a rapper black fella.
What?
Well, no, the one guy on this morning show kept talking about how Cube was on the halftime show.
Okay. So he probably just got his information wrong.
No, he got
I'm
his
pretty
black
sure.
guy wrong. I'm telling you, he saw Dre. Dre is all over the commercial. And
That's a weird mistake to make. They look different.
that was my
They
thought
look
too.
pretty different.
That was my thought too. Well, I assumed he didn't think Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube were the same guy. Of the lineup, the only
I mean,
person that
I don't
comes
know. I still don't. I don't know. That's a weird mistake to make in my
Right?
head. I guess.
No, that was my.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm like, look to see if Ice Cube's on the halftime show. I mean, look real quick. Look anywhere. That I mean, I'm excited about who's playing, but I definitely didn't get Cube from any of that. You know, none of the ices were mentioned that I saw. So I was like, anyway, and maybe I was projecting. I don't know. It was just
Dr. Dre, Snoop, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick.
Oh, I forgot. I am so sorry. I would have blown your mind, and I forgot to leave.
Yeah, you'd have blown
I
my
forgot
mind,
to
Kendrick.
mention one of the biggest artists involved, Nobel poet laureate Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah,
But I definitely didn't get Ice Cube out of Kendrick either.
no,
So I'm still on. So you have a list in front of you, right?
yeah,
This just in from Studio 586B. So you assume guy's got a list in front of him, right?
right, probably.
He has two other people in the studio that have read the list repeatedly and are definitely not saying Ice Cube.
Right. I don't know where the hell he got that from. He probably just got a bad list or something. Someone didn't do their research.
I don't think he had a list at all, first off.
Or he's probably just saying it, yeah.
I don't think he had a list at all. I think the other people had a list.
Mm-hmm.
And I think instead of actually listening to what he said.
That's what I'm saying. Probably an assistant or something made a list and gave it to him.
No. Okay, but there's three people in the room.
Yeah?
Two of them aren't getting it wrong.
Well, it's a radio show, right?
Right. So two of them aren't getting it wrong.
Uh-huh.
Two of them have. He chimes in
Mhm.
after they've read the list.
Okay.
My suspicion is he was not paying any attention to the people in the room.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know how you make a mistake like that. That's weird.
I wish I had my AK.
Why?
Because today would have been a bad day.
Oh, wow. That bad, huh?
Was it? I had, okay, my entire list of who was on it was from watching the video that Pepsi released
Mm-hmm.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And
Was
I
it
was-
today that it
yeah,
happened?
it was this morning.
Okay. What radio show was it? Out of
I'm not going to
curiosity.
do that.
Okay.
Because I kind of already, this particular radio show, I already suspect of the three people in the room, one of them is kind of Forrest Whitaker about black people.
Okay. Okay.
Can't look him straight in the eye. Bump. No.
All right.
That's a Forrest. So one of the jokes.
Forrest Whitaker joke.
Forrest Whitaker joke. You know what? I am not even paying attention to our amazing viewers out there, of which we have. We're doing the show for us, man.
Yep. I figured that. It's okay. It happens sometimes.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, I'm not on anybody's good list at the moment, so I'm not surprised. Support is fleeting, they say. I bring up Friday because it's one of those movies that anybody that watches it, I mean, it's hard to not laugh your butt off at. Interestingly enough, I also argue that it's Ice Cube giving an interesting inner look, tongue-in-cheek.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that it's a look at the black community.
Yeah.
The first of those, really.
Yeah. I'm not sure that Ice Cube thought that deeply about it, but it's possible that he did, though.
I don't know, man. He's a well-thought-out guy.
He is.
He's
He
a
is.
well-thought-out
He thinks
guy.
a lot. So it's possible he did think about that like that, but
I mean, there's so much
I'm not sure.
there's so much interaction. I mean, and okay, and also you're right. The valid point is he's writing what he knew.
Right.
But don't bump that. And maybe that's, we all end up trying to write what we know, speak what we know,
Mm-hmm.
sing what we know. No, I didn't have to use my AK.
Oh my gosh.
But to some extent, but you know what I mean? That sing about what I know, man. For those of you that don't know, I'm not saying Ice never had. I'm not Ice. I'm not saying that Cube never had an AK. I don't mean it like that. But he also did fairly well and came from a decent family, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so.
That wasn't he one of the ones that.
Although most of my knowledge of like him, Dr. Dre, and all of them comes from like the movie.
Yeah. You know
So
what? I was there at the time, but
I
I
don't
wasn't
know.
paying attention.
yeah, I wasn't there, so
Right.
I don't know at all.
That back then, did I know the difference between Dre and Cube? No, because Dre wasn't around yet. No, yeah, he was.
Well,
No, he
from
wasn't.
the movie makes it look like Eazy-E was the only one that was actually doing anything in the streets as far as.
It does have that feel.
it makes it seem
that was where the money came from. But
Right.
after the fact and writing it the way,
Who knows? Who really
who
knows?
knows? So it's our Friday too.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it weird? We work weird schedules.
We do.
Yet still Friday has meaning,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh man, it's Friday.
Yep.
Like
It's the end of the week.
it's the end of the week. Now some of it is there are little people in our world that go to school and stuff. So I mean that I've always said that kind of makes my Monday Friday thing still happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I look forward to the weekend. Like it's somehow going to be different.
I don't look forward to the weekend, really.
What would change whether or not you look forward to the weekends?
What would change if I was looking forward to the weekends?
Live music every Saturday.
Trying to think. Think. I don't know. I really don't know.
How'd that go yesterday? For those of you who don't know, we're working on bringing you guys Studio 586B live, where we have musicians in the studio. If you're a musician out there, first off, please reach out. I've got some musicians I'm reaching out to. You've got some musicians you're reaching out to.
Mm-hmm.
We had a close friend, Seth, stop by yesterday. Amazing. I love his voice. He's a really fun musician.
It's really dope.
And his young lady friend Maya, is that correct?
I don't remember.
I believe it was Maya. Thank you, Maya Bailey, for remembering being in the back of my head so I could remember this other young lady's name was Maya.
Mm-hmm.
God, I'm saying a lot today.
That's
God.
okay.
God. God, I'm saying a lot.
I don't know. I don't know. Ums just come and go, I guess.
But did that... I know you've been at a moment where you're kind of finding balance with the musicality and with everything else we're doing. Did it help to have, like, they stopped in last night and you got hung out and made a little bit of music?
Yeah. It helped because sometimes I get on a roll and then I'll get in my head. And sometimes when there's a person that I have music to make with, it helps me out and I'm not so in my head.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, and then you guys
does
kind of got to freestyling and karaokeing, and
Yeah. It was pretty fun.
I'm a big proponent of karaoke as a way to access voices for musicians. That to some extent you kind of let down your guard and let yourself just try to sing like somebody else, and that may pop tools for later.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, you guys were like freestyling like crazy. You had some nice stuff going.
Yep.
That even she jumped in kind of like, man, I liked that background kind of whispery stuff where it was like
that was that one song, but that was pretty funny.
yeah. There's something to be said for letting okay, so we talk about getting our creative juices flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the root is letting,
Right.
not getting. Like,
Right,
okay,
right.
the getting is a push thing that then somehow it's harder.
Right.
I get that when I'm writing sometimes, like, oh man, I need to write.
Right.
All the ideas are still in my head, but then it won't come out the pen, or it won't come out the keyboard, or it won't come out. It's why I constantly, and eventually it'll work to everybody's benefit, I constantly am trying to figure out ways to just record instead of having to, because sometimes just somewhere between here and here, it don't work.
Right.
I assume sometimes it's, you got even less distance here to here. I can get this part to work usually, but man, once it gets out to here, I'm like just screwed.
Yeah, I think it's about connecting your body in some sort of way. Like it's a little spiritual when it comes to like artistic things because you kind of have to make the connection of I have the thought, all right, it's coming out. Like, and just letting that process flow as smoothly as possible, as often as possible, is really like what artists I feel like
opening
work
the
at
conduit
constantly.
or using the muscle. I mean, we talk about that
Yeah.
for meditation and everything else. The idea that okay,
Yeah.
you start.
You start slow and you progress, and it gets easier and easier as you go. Like, I heard Kendrick talking about the way that he writes, and he was like, I can write a 16-bar verse at any time about anything at this point. Like, I've written so much, I've freestyled so much, I've done so much musically that at this point I could write about anything. But feeling it is a different story.
Okay.
So writing to a feeling or like trying to figure out how to explain a feeling takes a little bit more nuance. Like it's a little bit easier for him now because he's done it for what, 10 years? 10 maybe
Yeah,
15 years.
maybe even longer.
Like
Yeah.
maybe even longer than that.
Kendrick's been around a minute.
Kendrick's been around a minute. He's like, I want to say like in his 30s, and
Oh my God, old
he's
man.
been rapping probably since a teenager. So
Old man in his 30s.
so no, he's not old. But but yeah, he's been doing it for a little while. So it gets to a point where it's kind of easy to talk about almost anything. Just you got to figure out what things you feel the most.
Well, and isn't it also, and find your voice.
Yeah.
That sometimes I can access something where I could almost write in somebody else's voice easier than mine, but then it's not. There's some legitimacy lost.
I have a harder time writing like other people. Like I can write in a different style, but everything that I do is very uniquely mine in my head. At
Okay.
least in my head it is. Like
Right.
it might be influenced by something, but it doesn't feel like anybody else's stuff.
The weird thing is, so I end up in this place where, because everything I learn and find I think of in my head is kind of Legos.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, all of the stuff feels a little bit like regurgitation.
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, I run into pieces where I'm like, oh, I don't know where that came from. Oh, that
Right.
must have been me, I guess. That I don't. I think of myself as finding wisdom as opposed to having it.
Right.
Now is not the time to call me.
Mm-hmm.
Tell that to the bill collectors. Sorry for the phone call, folks. That I find so much meaning in other sources that for me, I find it's that as opposed to feeling like I'm giving my own information, I'm just going, hey, did anybody else notice these things stack this way?
Right. Right.
I don't think of myself in some way as wise.
Okay.
It's like when I talk about sheer luck and through things,
Right.
that the whole Sherlock Holmes things make sense to me because, so the other day we were watching this video, and it was funny because our reactions were totally
Polar opposite.
Polar opposites.
It was just, I think it was mostly we paid attention to different things on first watch.
And it was weird. I felt like, and I feel like this a lot, that I see all the building blocks separately in things. So sometimes I'll end up seeing things differently because I noticed a bunch of pieces. The Sherlock Holmes part, what I mean is that I can't help. There are things I notice that I don't always even want to notice.
I think I skew things positively more than reality.
Do you think I'm negative?
No. I think
Because when I hear that, I
no,
go,
no, no,
"Oh,
no,
am
no,
I
no,
taking
no,
things
no,
too
no, no, no,
negatively?"
no.
Yeah.
It's not that thought at all. I think that there are 3 ways to take things: positively, negatively, and reality. I think when you watch that video, when you were talking about it, like when you were talking about the way you felt or the way you interpreted what was
Right.
going on in the video, I kind of interpreted it as, okay, he's seeing the video for what it is. I'm seeing the video as a little bit more positive. Not saying that I had a better perception of it. Just like I feel like I was probably missing a little bit just because I was kind of ignoring the negative bits.
Well, I feel like sometimes when I interact with other people,
Mm-hmm.
that not negative or positive bits, but that I notice a lot more bits.
Mm-hmm.
I've always
That's what I was trying to say is
Yeah.
like I feel like you probably just notice a little bit more than me.
Well, I think
It's not so much that I think what I tend to notice are the good things. I tend to read good intentions into almost anything.
I don't.
I don't traditionally like read bad intentions into most things or like even what the intentions actually might be.
I have noticed lately that a lot of, and I guess I have to own the fact that some of it's judgment, is that I'm constantly looking for compassion in all things.
Mhm.
That okay, the thing that I noticed was there were some questions in my head about whether or not the guy was being honest with the people he was talking to.
Mhm.
And that immediately, see, that's the thing that always, if I think somebody is being dishonest, it immediately sets me off.
Mhm.
That, man, I think that the thing that holds back communication and holds back so much
Mhm.
of our everyday, and I don't mean dishonesty necessarily like some kind of malicious, oh, I'm going to lie to this person. That I feel like how can meaningful communication happen
Mhm.
if you can't count on that the communication is honest?
Mm. Well, I don't exactly inspect for honesty all the time. I like honesty. I prefer to be honest. I have an easier time with dishonesty though. Like my first impulse when I speak
Uh huh.
is sometimes to lie. And it's not something that I've consciously worked on all the time. Like I try to work on it, but it's I think sometimes I feel like I might be a pathological liar, but like a baby pathological liar. Like sometimes I think because I can give you an example of one time that I had a conversation with my cousin, and I after school, instead of going to the library like I was supposed to
Mm-hmm.
and hanging out with my auntie all day, I went to the mall with my friend.
Okay.
So I would probably get in trouble if I told my family that. So when my cousin called asking where I was, I told him I am walking back home from the library. Blah 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 blah. Right, and he was like, okay, blah 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 blah. But then I immediately thought about it and I was like, why did you lie?
Right.
Like he's gonna be mad, yeah, but you didn't need to lie. You should have
Well,
told the truth. You probably should have told
okay,
the truth.
that's
So I immediately told the truth, and I was like, I'm sorry, I lied. I didn't. That shouldn't have been my first response.
right. I don't think of that as okay. So there's two different kinds of lying in my head.
Mhm.
I think the line for pathological lying is whether or not there was a purpose or cause to the lie.
Mhm.
Um, Not to say lying for purpose or cause is right either, but in the sense of I'm trying to cover something,
Mhm.
that's lying because you feel guilt.
Mhm.
As opposed to lying randomly.
Mhm.
Like there are in pathological liars, my understanding, I'm by no means a psychologist. What you see is lies that don't make sense.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh,
Okay.
why lie about that? That doesn't I It's human nature and often children learn to lie about things to avoid punishment.
Mhm.
But when there isn't like where you go, "Huh?"
I guess my version of avoiding confrontation is either to lie or to be passive aggressive or to like it's some form of deceit.
Oof. See, and those are
And
my personal pet
I
peeves.
think I have a problem with that, and it's not something that I constantly think about. So I wax and wane. Like I sometimes I'm really good about being honest and analyzing and going in depth about how I feel and explaining everything correctly. And sometimes I just can't tell the truth to save my life.
Right.
And I don't know where it comes from. I to some extent I don't know how to fix it. I I can only the only thing I can think of is I need to think before I speak. That's the only thing I can think of.
So for me, it's a compassion thing.
Mhm.
Oddly, it's all compassion all the way down with me these days. Yada yada. Compassion and mindfulness in my head are the two
Mhm.
most important things we can will offer each other. That so you've heard that my big compassion thing is namastained instead of namaste.
Mhm.
That the idea that namastained is I see the deep scars and wounds on my soul, sees the deep scars and wounds on your soul, and understands that the struggle is universal.
Mhm.
So, in other words, the things I feel, the struggle,
Mhm.
is as real outside of me as it is inside of me.
Mhm.
And so, if I experience something as feeling not compassionate
Mhm.
that has happened to me,
Mhm.
I have to make a rule to not allow myself to do that to others, because that true compassion is in understanding that the pain we feel is inside of us, and that the one thing we can offer compassionately to the world is our honesty and our word, that we can lower the weight they carry based on the idea they can count on us.
I have a hard time drawing those connections sometimes,
No, I understand.
or seeing those lines.
I dun dun dun.
Yeah, I
Found the line.
yeah, I have a hard time with that. It's I don't always know when I do things without knowing what I'm doing, I can get myself in trouble because I could either be telling the absolute truth or lying my ass off. It's one of the two, and I don't always know which one it is. And that's not good. I don't always know which one it is. I really don't. Like I could be lying to your face and not know I'm lying. It's weird. I don't like it. It's not an
Well,
aspect
that's quite
of,
a conundrum.
it's not an aspect of myself that I like, and I think I try to hide it and I try to ignore it and I like to think that I'm a good person and I like to think that I'm an honest person, but
Right.
to be honest, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
No, we know.
Like
Okay.
no, not just that I don't know what I'm doing, but it's like I don't know that what I'm doing is the right thing while I'm doing it.
Mm.
And I have a hard time with trying to figure out whether or not I'm doing the right thing. I think I don't take enough
Oh,
time.
I know.
I think to some extent I really
do the right thing. No,
no, but seriously, like I don't
And
know.
next for Black History Month in the world of black movies, Do the Right Thing.
That's funny.
A Spike Lee joint.
Spike Lee joint. I don't always know whether or not what I'm doing at that moment is the right thing to be doing, and I don't always take the time to analyze whether or not I'm doing the right thing.
do any of us really know in any moment? I mean, we can try.
You can try, yeah,
I think there are repercussions of all of our actions that are beyond us.
definitely.
That it is a hard thing to. So this is where I don't mean to wax buitic, no, as opposed to poetic.
Buitic.
Buitic. That, and that's why I think of compassion and mindfulness as going hand in hand. That you can't have compassion without mindfulness, and you can't really. I think you can't have one without the other. That they're interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
That in true compassion you must have mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
In true mindfulness you must have compassion.
Mm-hmm.
That when we talk about being compassionate to all living things, one of the things that's important to remember is we are a living thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the goal has to be, how do we all meet each other in a place where we're comfortable enough existing that we can be honest with each other.
Mm-hmm.
That I think time and again you come against the same walls, just in different perspectives and how it affects.
I think I don't. It's not. I think it's. I have a problem with consistency.
Me too.
In general.
I think humans.
In general, I think I have a problem with consistency, and I see it a lot. Like, teachers used to tell me I was very insightful. Other times, I was an idiot. I could go from really smart to really dumb really quick.
Isn't that human nature?
Yeah, but like I don't know.
The expectation to know and understand everything when that's not even
no,
a possibility.
it's not that I want to know and understand everything, but it's like I want to have some sort of like comfortable grip on how to deal with reality, and I want to be more consistent about how I consistently deal with reality. I want it to be that every time I'm given the option between hitting the button to save 10 people, or I don't remember how the train question goes, but basically, if I'm given the same option over and over again consistently, I want to choose the same thing. Whatever I'm going to choose, I want to consistently choose the same thing. And I feel like the problem is I consistently wax and wane on which one I'm choosing. I don't know how to
So
control that to some extent.
my thought is you're a very young man.
Mhm.
And these are the moments where you decide how to define yourself.
Mhm.
Now, for me, part of the reason my word became so valuable is I had stripped myself of value. I had gotten myself in trouble, created a situation where employers were not going to want to hire me,
Mhm.
which meant that all that I had that I could carry with me was my word.
Right.
That all like my work ethic, the things internal that only I could set the value for because that's what I had.
Mhm.
And it was at an age similar to yours,
Mhm.
off by a year or two, but not by much. That you had to decide those things held water, held weight.
I think to some extent the reason why I constantly struggle with the question of narcissism is that to some extent I've always placed high value on myself. Like in weird ways. Like I I've always felt like I was a good person. I've always felt like I was smart. I've always felt like I knew what I was doing. So at times I can act petulant when I don't know what I'm doing, or when I'm not the good person, or when I don't know what's going on. I can act very petulant because my constant belief is that I'm a good person, that I know what I'm doing, that I have a grip of something.
Mm-hmm.
When the reality is I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
None of us do.
Like I get that. I totally get that. But trying to force that into my reality, or trying to make that my reality, is that I don't know trying to make not knowing what I'm doing part of my reality is something I struggle with.
You know what?
I think.
I forgot a really important piece. Mindfulness, compassion, and one more thing that changes my outlook on the world.
Mhm.
Gratitude.
Mhm.
That grateful changes my ability to assess my ability, oddly.
Mhm.
Because I'm not only grateful for the things I do know, but for the things I don't know.
Mhm.
And there's a lot I don't know.
Mhm.
The majority of things in the universe I can't know.
Mhm.
That relative to the available, I can accept that I don't know things on the basis that there are so many things to know that there have to be more things I don't know than things I do know,
Mhm.
based on the infinite nature of knowledge.
Right.
I don't know what temperature it is on some planet going around Alpha Centauri,
Right.
X number of light years away.
Right.
So there's this wealth of knowledge, and no
Mhm.
matter how much I can think at any moment, I know lots. Absolutely not. You take
Mhm.
whoever can store the most information in their brain falls short of even a myth of a percentage.
I operate under the assumption that I know things more often than that I don't, and I think that's a problem in my head. At least the way that my the way that my brain works, I think that that's like a fundamental problem. Is that I often default to knowing the answer, and I think when I don't know the answer, I either deny it or I completely shut off.
Oof. Yeah, I can understand that. I can relate to that. Speaking of just shutting off,
Mm-hmm.
being that it's Friday, I wanted to bring up the year so far and how many people are gone.
Yeah, it's a little high. It's a little high.
Last night we lost Meatloaf and Louis Anderson.
I will be honest. I did not know who those people were before you told me. Actually no. I knew who they were. I just didn't like know them.
I feel like I can't even go through a
but-
complete list. I mean, I automatically think of Betty White and Sidney Poitier, but I know there are others.
There's others.
It's been
Bob Saget too.
oh my god, how did I forget? You know,
Yeah.
America's Dad. Don't watch The Aristocrats. America's
That's
Dad,
funny.
my ass.
That's funny.
But
America's Boyle.
I don't get it. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand we always lose people, but man, is it just me?
No, I think we've always. Well, no.
This has
I
seemed
think,
like a
okay,
run
I
here.
think like for some reason, like the past couple years, it seemed like people that have been around forever seem to die.
Well, your definition of
least,
forever and mine are different. I noticed
Right,
how
that's good.
how
That's a good
young
point.
Bob
Yeah.
Saget and Louis Anderson were. They're like
How young
early
was Louis
60s.
Anderson?
Now, Louis Anderson was a large man. There were some extenuating circumstances, and
Right.
you know what? So was Meatloaf. Meatloaf wasn't that old either,
I
though.
mean, Bob Saget was getting up there.
But they're all in there, not like.
You look at some late pictures of Bob Saget.
I
He
mean,
was
I'm
getting
just
a little
saying.
big.
Usually, rich folk live longer. They make some Betty White kind of time.
Right.
99, and you know what? Staying to 100 ain't any of the problem.
Right. Sidney Poitier and Betty White seem to
Well,
run the marathon as opposed to their sprint.
what was the one? Okay, so here was a fun fact. So if you think about Martin Luther King Jr.,
Hmm.
Anne Frank,
And Betty White. They were
no,
all-
and Barbara Walters.
Oh, Barbara Walters. Yeah, yeah.
Barbara Walters is the age that Martin Luther King Jr. and Anne Frank would be.
Yep. Definitely.
That
It's crazy.
so. Hey, upbeat Friday. Let's talk some death. Sometimes death is what's on my mind. Not really. I don't worry about death. I don't worry about it at all. I mean, I do only in the sense of the people I leave behind and wanting to leave ripples in the pond and yada bada da dee da dee, but not like a
I don't-
scary place to go.
I have people that I love, but I don't. I think people would be fine if I just.
No,
okay.
really?
No. It's like I think.
I'd
to
be
some extent, I
devastated.
think to some extent the Earth would move on. Like the Earth would keep.
Well, no, I
spinning,
think that's okay. I think
and
that's true of
people
all.
would
That's-
people would eventually come to terms with the fact that I'm not here anymore.
Well, I think
It's
that's true
not.
of all
It's
of us.
not. It's not really like. It doesn't really bother me a whole bunch. It bothers me when I want to die. That bothers me. But
Yeah, I
other
don't-
than that,
yeah.
like, I don't really give it much thought.
Oof,
Like,
that was a pretty big thought.
what do you mean?
You know what? No, I really want you here.
Hmm.
We fight.
I mean, like, I wanna be here. I like living. To some extent. Even that comment, I don't know. Like, to some extent, I like to live, but it's like, it's just I am. Like, I don't really go through existential crises as often as I used to because of the fact that I've kind of accepted the fact that when I do eventually die, people are gonna have to move on with their lives.
Well,
They're gonna live their lives and they're gonna experience happiness after I die. They're not
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
they're not gonna just be wallow in their despair. I mean, will some people be devastated? Maybe. I
for
mean,
a time.
For a time,
And there-
exactly.
I mean, and
it's
people
like,
will miss you. Yeah.
right, and then they'll die, and then the people that love them will feel despair for a time, and then they'll experience more happiness. It's to me it's cyclical, so I don't really have bad thoughts about death anymore, really.
Okay.
With the exception of the occasional I want to die. With the exception of that, like, I don't really think about it much.
See, and it's a weird thing. I would have passive kind of I want to die sort of feelings.
Me too.
So for me, it was always more of a. It wouldn't be awful.
No, it'd be a quiet. I want to go to sleep, not wake up.
But
Be
then
one of those.
then I realized how much, man, I got too much going on, and I really, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Not in the sense of my end of it. God, I don't know. I don't think, yeah, death
I
doesn't
guess
cross my
it's
mind.
a-
Like, okay, so what I've
Mhm.
convinced, my concerns. I wrote this just the other day, actually, somewhere on Facebook, somewhere that I don't have any way of knowing what came before. I don't have any way of knowing what comes after.
Right.
So all I can do is perfect this thing I know.
To some extent, it's a little bit easier on me as well because I don't have anyone that depends on me, like financially, emotionally, physically.
Yeah, yeah.
Any of those. I'm fairly young, so the thought doesn't really. I think as you get older, the thought begins to weigh a little bit more heavy.
I think that can be true.
Like I don't.
There's
think,
a lot of
I don't
responsibilities.
think kids really think about death that much. I mean, I know that there are kids that
I worry
constantly
yeah.
face and deal with death, but like, I think it's
You were a young kid feeling pretty low.
yeah.
That's what kind of worries scares me the most. Is I mean, I think about the fact that you're 18 and you're already at a spot you feel this way.
Well, I've probably had some sort of like depression since I was like a kid. I just didn't know quite what was going on.
What to call it?
Yeah, I didn't know quite what was going on. Sometimes I just zone out of conversations and I couldn't really figure out why. Sometimes I would like I think my first existential thought was in middle school, probably.
Right.
My first thought of like, oh, I'm gonna die and people are gonna miss me. My first thought to like commit self-deletion was high school.
High school?
Yeah. A girl had broken up with me. It was really that, yes. But but like eventually I had the thought that I was like, no, that's not the way to go
okay.
about that.
Mine was 5th grade. But anyways,
grade?
don't feel bad about your high school thing.
Okay. That's a little bit more concerning, I think.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
Um,
to some extent.
that those kind of existential crises can come. I've got a little guy that I care a lot about that is already very aware that, you try to think openly about the idea of how do you face a world. I look around and I see young people
Mm-hmm.
already feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, how do we change that?
Mm.
How do we find a path where people get to feel better? That people aren't afraid.
I think to some extent consistency plays a major role in whether or not someone deals with depression or deals with anxiety or things like that, because I think the whirlwind of change can hit people differently.
Yeah.
And for me, it didn't really hit me till I was about a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Like till I was like an older teenager. Because it was kind of like since I was born, constant change. I would get like 2 to 3, at most 4 to 5 years of stability.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a change, a big change that I had to deal with. I just had to deal with it. And it didn't really get me. I didn't really get caught up in that whirlwind of, oh, what do I do now? I didn't really get caught up in that because I had experienced so much change that it was kind of like, all right, this is just what we're dealing with now. So when I got a little bit older and I got a little bit more ponderous, I kind of thought about it a little bit more. And I was like, oh shit, I've kind of been through a lot. That's kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to keep going through things? Okay, that's kind of scary. I don't know that I want to keep going through things. Life is starting to feel like a bit of a chore. It's a little bit hot in here. It's a little I'm getting a little itchy. Like,
doubt.
I started showing signs of anxiety and depression and things started popping up and I didn't really know what to do about it. I told somebody, asked for help, and what I got from that was confirmation that I wasn't alone. And it felt a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can deal with it a little bit better. Just knowing that, okay, you've been through a lot, so you're going to go through a lot as you keep going. You're going to have to deal with the things that you've been through. And it is what it is. You just got to deal with it. I've kind of come back around to the constant, all right, I just got to deal with my new situation. As opposed to constantly thinking about how much more I got to go through or how much I've been through and getting lost in that, you know?
Right. Right.
So,
So is it that we come to terms with somehow accepting that we don't have any stability? And is that maybe one of the roots of where we're constantly trying to figure out some way to stand firmly, even because we're always worried it's going to get pulled out from under us?
well, I think anxiety and depression comes from the inability to deal with change. Like, once you find a space where you're comfortable and then a change happens, you begin to feel more uncomfortable with that idea.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's more that you're uncomfortable with the idea of change, so you start to be uncomfortable in your own skin.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
I think I'm not a psychologist or anything. I have no like
I think there's something
research to back these thoughts up, but that's what I think it is.
Often
in
they
my head.
talk about the idea that, you're on this teeter-totter and the present is the middle, and okay, so the past is depression
Right,
and the future is anxiety.
right,
So I suggest that if the past is depression, there's something there.
right.
If you start to form PTSD or have reactions based on your previous, it's hard. So I think of depression and anxiety are as very much two sides of a same coin.
Definitely.
That if this first part has caused you distress, you will more than likely have greater anxiety towards the future.
Right, right. It's like the I feel like so I think the allegory of a cloud is kind of accurate. And I think depression and anxiety, sometimes you can experience them both at the same time, but it's kind of like a cloud. Like, if you don't look at the cloud, it's usually not even a worry. But if you're looking back at that cloud, you might be experiencing some depression.
Once you
But
see it, you can't unsee it.
If it's going
right.
past you and it's forward, like, you might be experiencing some anxiety. Like, and there's a little bit of both. I mean, obviously there's like a spectrum with like how much you're dealing with at one point in time, but like it's definitely something to be thought of when you're going through depression and anxiety of, okay, where is the feeling coming from now? What am I scared of right now at this moment? Am I contemplating my past and just thinking about the bad shit that's happened to me, or am I stressing over the future?
I'm afraid of crocodiles with clocks. That's Peter Pan. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? Where did the crocodile get a clock? Is that a Salvador Dali painting? Like, that's my first thought.
I forget how the clock fall. It happened at the same point. He was eating Hook's hand. And somehow a clock ended up in the croc's mouth. I don't know. It's been a weird week, folk, but weeks are weird.
Weeks are weird.
You know what? It's been a good Friday. It's really good to hear, or have everybody hear from us, I guess. I don't know. I was about to say hear from all of you. But Fridays are a little up there. You never know what you're going to get on a Friday. It's us trying to work it out.
Yep.
You know what? I am glad for anybody out there and appreciate you all more than you know. Hey, it was a good day.
It was a good day.
I didn't even have to use my AK. I did not have to use my AK.
That's
today.
hilarious.
Jimmy, do you have an AK? No, Justin, I don't really have an AK. You don't. Another day. Another dollar. See you guys on Monday. I really can keep talking. It doesn't matter. I'm just waiting for it to pop up on the other side.
Yep.
I love that we have Cube, and I love the look on Ice Cube's face and Chris Tucker's face cracks me up.
It felt better to talk shit out, though.
That's the goal. Is it...
Talk through shit.
Can you see your screen or not?
Oh, I wasn't even looking at Facebook at this moment. I know we're live right now. Yeah, it's up.
Dum dum dum. How is mine off by just a
Yeah,
little bit
I don't
from
know
yours?
why yours is off like that. It's weird.
What the fuck? Because then I'm worried that I'm gonna like lose it. But I'm like, okay.